Real quick, I wanted to give you guys a short demonstration of Hail and Wind supplements and scopes and how they can benefit you and your company without having to pay an overpriced amount of anywhere between 10-14% of your contract to these overpriced supplement companies who really aren't doing that great of a job from what I understand. Now, Hail and Wind's been around since 2002, been maximizing profits for contractors through the supplement process that entire time. Right now, there's a team of 9 that can handle just about any volume you guys need. And if you go to hailandwind.claims, if you haven't already, it does a great job of explaining exactly what these scopes have in them. Your average scope is going to cost you $99. It's going to include all the F9 notes, building codes, photographs that you might send in, and documentation that you want included. Here's a short example of a real easy one that was done not too long ago. I want to go over in an actual scope situation with you guys from start to finish and show you what we're talking about here. On the website you can see our flowchart. Nowhere in this flowchart does it say farm out your supplements to a third party who charges anywhere between 4 and 14% of your hard-earned money. It's just not necessary. I think it's borderline theft to charge that much for somebody else's work, to be honest with you. When you send the stuff over to Hail and Wind, you're going to get back a scope product that's going to be all you need to fight the insurance company on legitimate construction items. These are not meant to do any type of public adjusting. These scopes don't mention anything about policies or the law. It's strictly talking about method of repair and building code, which is what you guys are experts in. So, getting right down to business, first of all, we customize an opening statement for your company. This is the example of the one that I like to use. It's extremely aggressive and sets the tone of our scope from the very beginning. We tell the insurance company, please don't call our customer and mess with our contract. If you do that, then we're going to have to follow up with the appropriate civil action against you and your company in the jurisdiction that our contract originated in. Basically, if you call my customer and cause a problem for us and our contract, we're going to sue you, Mr. Adjuster. No big deal. Please don't do that. Also be aware, this describes the reasoning for changing the unit pricing for any of these specialty trades from the default demolition trade to the actual roofing or siding or overhead door trades that they're supposed to be. One of the major reasons is roofing and carpentry are the 2 most hazardous trades in the entire industry. Because of that, workman's comp and general liability for these trades is astronomical compared to general demolition work. We're not destroying the structure, we're actually reconstructing something, so we're going to be using licensed and or skilled tradesmen. We go on to talk about the requirements of a general contractor and why we're charging overhead and profit, along with Xactimate's definitions of the different kinds of overhead and profit, which you guys have already seen in their white paper, I'm sure. And I'd like to finish off with the Federal Trade Commission's stance on price fixing, which basically tells the insurance company it's illegal to try to force us to use their price or one of our competitors' prices. So don't even try. Now, your opening statement is yours. Some guys don't want us to be as aggressive. Other people love this and want to add more to it. It's going to be up to you and what you're comfortable with for your scopes. And let's go over an actual scope, something that happened last spring in Texas. I have a scope here. My friends Kevin and Michelle Price in Texas, very good friends of mine. Initial offering from the insurance company. We've got a nice roof here with flashings and pipe jacks. He's even got to prime and paint the roof jacks here, which is odd. So for all intents and purposes, this is actually a pretty good scope. He's got his gutters, solar window screens, overhead door and hardware. The guy did a pretty good job, I would have to say. There's a lot of stuff that is still missing. And so his bottom line price here, when we're going after it, $16,900 is what they said all the repairs. But they did not pay for general contractors overhead and profit with all of these trades, which is crazy to me. No overhead and profit. So we wrote our scope, and this is what our typical scope looks like. Every line item is explained through building code or through method of repair why it's necessary, why it's legitimate, and why it's in our scope. If they'd like us to, for instance, add hip and ridge and starter to the waist shingles, of course we're going to say no, because that's not how it's done. Xactimate's own definition of waste is for things that are going to be thrown away, which would not include brand new materials. Not to mention the fact that ridge cap is a separate product, starters, you guys know the whole drill. This explains it line by line. We have an explanation for drip edge. We have an explanation for the steep and why the steep is necessary for the removal. Pipe jack flashings, building code for priming and painting the exposed flashings. There's a building code related to 85% of every line item in this scope. It's not just because we want it, it's because it belongs there. One of my favorite things is the HVAC technician. It's actually a Class B misdemeanor in Texas, and it's similar in other states, to have anybody other than an HVAC contractor touch those pipes up there. And the insurance company needs to recognize this. So, as you can see, there's quite a few more pages added to this scope. And we're looking at a bottom line price of $30,500 as opposed to the $16,900 they originally had offered. Now we're asking for another $13,000, and some of you guys are going to say, whoa, 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 you're crazy, you're out of your mind, there's no way. Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to show you the approval of every one of our line items. All he needs is an invoice once the work is done and documentation that the job was subbed out so that we can cover the overhead and profit. The main response we get, or the average response we get from all these contractors is, we really can't argue with all of your documentation here, so send us proof that the work's been completed and we're good to go. It's been cost incurred. The reason that doesn't happen to a lot of these other scopes is because you guys, a lot of people will wait until it's asked for to send in any of this justification. Now this particular scope does not have it because it wasn't necessary, but generally we will add the copies of the building code and the photographs and any supporting documentation to the end of the scope. It's actually in the scope, not separate documents. Makes things in a nice, neat package for the insurance company. It makes it really hard for them to ask you for anything else. Now,